What happens when a royal steps onto a live daytime talk show? And the conversation goes somewhere no one in the studio was fully prepared for. Make sure to subscribe to Fame After Hours and like and comment for more talk show coverage. The cameras are already rolling as the applause builds inside the studio. The hosts of The View sit at the table, smiling, shuffling their notes, but there's a certain tension in the air that even the audience can feel. This isn't just another celebrity interview. Today's guest is someone whose life has been under constant public scrutiny. Please welcome Prince Harry, the announcer says, and the audience erupts into applause. Prince Harry walks out, giving a polite wave, a small smile on his face. He shakes hands with Whoopi Goldberg first, then nods to the rest of the panel, including Joy Behar. He takes his seat, adjusts slightly, clearly aware of the weight of the conversation that's about to happen. Whoopi leans forward, her tone warm but direct. "Harry, thank you for being here." Harry nods. "Thanks for having me." There's a brief pause, the kind that usually doesn't get noticed, but today it does. Whoopi continues, "You've been in the spotlight your entire life, but the last few years, they've been different. You've spoken about stepping back, about your experiences, your family. People feel like they've heard your side. But there are still a lot of questions." A few murmurs ripple through the audience. Harry shifts slightly in his chair. "Of course. And I understand that." Joy jumps in, leaning forward. "Well, let's just start there. Because when you say your side, some people feel like you've said quite a lot already. Interviews, documentaries, a book. So what hasn't been said yet?" There's a noticeable shift in energy. The audience quiets down. Harry exhales lightly. "I think what hasn't been fully understood is the context. It's not just about moments or headlines. It's about years of pressure. Things that build over time." Whoopi nods slowly. "Pressure from where? The media? The family?" Harry pauses for a second. "Both." The audience reacts with a soft "oh." Not loud, but enough to be heard. Joy raises an eyebrow. "Both? That's a strong statement." Harry looks toward her, calm but firm. "It's an honest one." There's a brief silence. Whoopi glances at Joy, then back at Harry. "Can you explain that?" Whoopi asks. Harry leans forward slightly, hands clasped. "When you grow up in that environment, there are expectations. There are things you're supposed to do, things you're not supposed to say. And when you try to step outside of that, it doesn't always go smoothly." Joy interrupts gently but quickly. "But Harry, with respect, a lot of people would say you had privilege. You had support. So when you talk about pressure, some viewers might struggle to relate." A few audience members nod. Others stay quiet. Harry gives a small nod, acknowledging the point. "I understand that perspective. I really do. And I'm not saying my life is harder than anyone else's. What I'm saying is, pressure doesn't disappear just because your life looks a certain way from the outside." Whoopi leans back slightly, watching him carefully. Joy presses again. "But when you decided to step away, that wasn't just about pressure, was it? That was a very public decision. And it affected more than just you." Harry's expression tightens, just slightly. "Of course it did. And it wasn't a decision I made lightly." The audience is completely silent now. Whoopi steps in, her tone measured. "Walk us through that moment. Because from the outside, it felt sudden." Harry shakes his head. "It wasn't sudden. Not for us. It was something that had been building for a long time." Joy leans in again. "But the announcement, the way it was done. Some would say it caught your family off guard." Harry looks directly at her. "There's a lot about that situation that people don't know." A few audience members react, some leaning forward, others exchanging looks. Whoopi raises her hand slightly, trying to keep the conversation balanced. "Okay, let's slow this down a bit." She turns to Harry. "You're saying there's more to the story?" Harry nods. "Yes." Joy doesn't let go. "Then why not say it? You've already opened the door. Why hold back now?" There's a noticeable tension at the table. Harry pauses. For a moment, it feels like he might choose his words very carefully or not answer at all. "I think," he begins slowly, "there's a difference between sharing your experience and creating more harm." The audience reacts again. A mix of soft claps and murmurs. Joy tilts her head. "But haven't some of your past comments already caused harm?" That lands heavier than the previous questions. Harry's expression shifts, still controlled, but more serious now. "That was never the intention." Joy responds quickly. "Intentions aside, impact matters." Whoopi glances at Joy, then back at Harry. Let him respond. Harry nods slightly. You're right. Impact does matter. And I've spent a lot of time thinking about that. But at the same time, staying silent also has an impact. That line gets a stronger reaction from the audience. Whoopi leans forward again. So this is you not staying silent? Harry looks at her, then briefly out toward the audience. This is me trying to explain, without making things worse. There's a pause. A real one this time. Joy folds her hands on the table. But some people would argue it already is worse. The tension is building, slowly but clearly. Harry takes a breath. I think, when you're in a situation where you feel like you're not being heard, eventually you have to speak. Whoopi nods, but doesn't interrupt. Joy adds, even if it means putting your family in a difficult position? Harry looks directly at her again. It was never about putting anyone in a position. It was about protecting my own. The audience reacts louder this time. Some clapping, some murmuring. Whoopi raises her hand slightly again, calming the room. Okay. She turns to Harry. When you say, protecting my own, you're talking about your wife, your children. Harry nods. Yes. Joy leans back slightly, but her expression shows she's not done. But Harry, critics say that by going public, you actually invited more attention, more scrutiny. Harry gives a small, almost tired smile. The scrutiny was already there. That line hits. The audience responds with a mix of applause and quiet agreement. Whoopi watches him closely. So in your mind, there wasn't really another option. Harry pauses again. This time longer. It didn't feel like there was. The room goes quiet. And for the first time since the interview started, it feels like the conversation is about to go somewhere even deeper, somewhere less controlled, less predictable. Joy glances at Whoopi, then back at Harry. Then let's talk about what happened next, she says. And you can feel it, the shift. The moment where a standard interview starts turning into something much more intense. Joy's last line hangs in the air for a second longer than usual. The audience is quiet, waiting to see where this goes next. Whoopi leans forward slightly, her tone steady but more focused now. All right, so let's go there. After you step back, things didn't exactly calm down. If anything, it got louder. More headlines, more interviews, more reactions. Did you expect that? Prince Harry gives a small shake of his head. I expected attention, sure, but not the level of intensity that followed. Joy jumps in quickly. But Harry, you sat down for major interviews. You shared very personal details. At that point, it's not just attention. It becomes a conversation you're actively part of. Harry looks at her, calm but clearly more guarded now. I agreed to those interviews because for a long time, my side of the story wasn't being told accurately. Joy responds almost immediately, or wasn't being told the way you wanted it to be told. A few audience members react with a soft "oh." Whoopi glances at Joy again, slightly raising her eyebrows, but lets it continue. Harry exhales through his nose, keeping his composure. I think everyone wants their truth to be understood. That's not unusual. Joy leans in a bit more. But there are multiple truths in a family, right? It's not just yours. There's a pause. Harry nods slowly. Of course. I've never said there aren't other perspectives. Whoopi steps in, trying to balance things. But you can see why some people feel like this played out very publicly. Harry turns to her. I can. And I don't take that lightly. But the reality is it was already public. Stories were being written, narratives were being shaped, and I wasn't part of that conversation. The audience murmurs in agreement. Joy folds her arms slightly. So this was about control? Harry shakes his head. No, it was about clarity. That word lands differently. Whoopi nods slowly. Clarity for who? For the public? Or for yourself? Harry pauses, thinking for a moment. Both, I think. When things are being said about you, about your family, and they're not accurate, it affects more than just headlines. Joy responds, her tone still firm but slightly less sharp. But by correcting it publicly, you also keep the story alive. Harry gives a small nod. That's true. And that's something I've had to accept. There's a brief silence. The kind where everyone at the table is choosing their next words carefully. Whoopi looks at him closely. Do you regret any of it? The audience leans in again. Harry doesn't answer right away. He looks down for a second, then back up. I think there are moments I would handle differently. But the decision itself, no. Joy tilts her head. Not even knowing everything that came after? Harry meets her gaze. Not even then. A few audience members clap softly. Whoopi nods, but her expression is thoughtful. That's a strong position. Harry shrugs slightly. It's an honest one. Joy looks like she's about to jump in again, but this time Whoopi speaks first. Okay, but let's talk about something people are still asking, she says, turning the conversation again. And just like that, you can feel it, the discussion isn't slowing down. If anything, it's about to get even more direct. Whoopi's tone shifts just slightly, more direct now, less conversational. People are still asking about your relationship with your family today, she says, looking straight at Prince Harry. Not back then, right now. Where does that stand? The audience goes quiet again. Harry takes a breath, his hands resting together on the table. It's complicated. Joy lets out a small, knowing laugh. That's one way to put it. A few audience members react, some nodding. Whoopi keeps her focus on him. Are you in contact? Harry hesitates for a moment. There have been conversations. Joy leans forward quickly. Private conversations? Or the kind that end up being discussed publicly afterward? That line gets a stronger reaction, some gasps, a few murmurs. Whoopi glances at Joy again, but doesn't stop her this time. Harry's expression tightens just a little. Private conversations should stay private. Joy raises her eyebrows. But that hasn't always been the case, has it? There's a pause. Harry looks directly at her. I think it's important to move forward differently. The audience quiets again, sensing the shift. Whoopi nods slowly. So you're trying to change how things are handled now? Harry nods. Yes, because at the end of the day, it's still my family. That line softens the room slightly. Joy's tone changes too, just a bit less sharp. Do you think they feel the same way? Harry pauses longer this time. I hope so. There's a silence that lingers. Whoopi leans in. Hope is one thing. Reality is another. Do you feel like there's progress? Harry exhales slowly. I think there are steps being taken. Not always publicly, not always perfectly, but steps. Joy crosses her arms lightly. But at the same time, you're here, talking about it. Again. Harry gives a small nod. And I understand how that looks. Joy presses gently. Then why do it? That question lands differently, less confrontational, more curious. Harry takes a second before answering. Because if I don't speak for myself, someone else will. And they'll probably get it wrong. A few audience members clap softly. Whoopi watches him carefully. So this is still about setting the record straight. Harry nods. Partly. But it's also about drawing a line. About saying, this is where things stand now. Joy tilts her head. And where do they stand? Harry looks out briefly toward the audience, then back at the table. In a place where I'm focusing on my family, my life now, and hoping that, over time, things can improve. There's a sincerity in his tone that shifts the energy again. Whoopi nods. That sounds like distance, but not closure. Harry gives a slight smile. That's probably a fair way to put it. The audience murmurs in agreement. Joy leans back in her chair, studying him. Do you think the public plays a role in all of this? Because let's be honest, this isn't just a private family anymore. It's a global story. Harry nods slowly. The public definitely plays a role, but it also complicates things. Because every move, every word, gets interpreted. Whoopi adds, sometimes twisted. Harry looks at her. Exactly. There's a brief pause, and for a moment it feels like the tension has eased slightly, but only slightly. Joy glances at Whoopi, then back at Harry. All right, but there's one thing we haven't really touched yet. Whoopi looks at her. Go ahead. Joy turns fully toward Harry, her expression serious again. And that's the criticism. Not just from the media, but from people who used to support you. The audience reacts instantly. And just like that, the calm moment starts to fade, as the conversation edges into even more uncomfortable territory. The shift is immediate after Joy's last line. The audience reaction lingers for a second. Some murmurs, a few scattered claps, but mostly curiosity. This is the part people have been waiting for. Whoopi leans in, her voice calmer, but more deliberate now. Let's talk about that. Because it's not just headlines anymore. It's public opinion. Some people who supported you in the beginning feel differently now. Prince Harry nods slowly, like he expected this question. I've seen that. Joy doesn't hesitate. And how does that feel? Because that's not easy. Going from being supported to being questioned. Harry takes a breath. It's not easy, but I also understand it. People only see parts of the story, and sometimes those parts change over time. Joy responds, but do you think anything you've done contributed to that shift? There's a pause again. Harry answers carefully, I think when you speak openly, especially about personal things, you open yourself up to criticism. That's part of it. Whoopi nods. So you accept that? Harry looks at her. I accept that people are going to have opinions. I may not agree with all of them, but I understand where they come from. The audience reacts with light applause. Joy leans forward again, but her tone is less sharp now. Do you ever feel like maybe it's time to step back from all of this? From the public conversations. Harry gives a small, thoughtful smile. I've thought about that. A lot. Whoopi asks. And Harry shrugs slightly. I think there's a balance. You can't live your life completely in silence. But you also can't respond to everything. That line lands well. More applause from the audience. Joy nods slowly. That's fair. For the first time, the tension at the table feels like it's easing. Whoopi leans back a little, her expression softer. At the end of the day, what do you want people to understand about you right now? Not the past, right now. Harry pauses, looking down briefly before answering. That I'm trying to build a life that's stable, that's healthy for my family, and trying to learn from everything that's happened. The audience responds warmly this time, clear applause. Joy gives a small nod. That's probably the most relatable thing you've said today. A few light laughs break the tension. Whoopi smiles slightly. Well, we appreciate you coming in and having this conversation. It wasn't easy. Harry nods. I knew it wouldn't be. There's a brief shared moment at the table. Less confrontational now, more reflective. The camera pulls back slightly as the applause continues. But the energy in the room is different from when it started. It's not explosive anymore, but it's not simple either. As the show cuts to a short break, you can still see the hosts exchanging looks, Harry adjusting in his seat, the audience talking among themselves. Later, clips from the interview begin circulating almost immediately online. Short moments, Joy's toughest questions, Harry's calm responses, the pauses, the reactions, start trending across social media. Some viewers praise him for staying composed. Others criticize him for not answering directly enough. The debate spreads quickly. Backstage, the mood is quieter. Staff move around, producers checking notes, discussing which clips will air again. The conversation clearly made an impact. By the time the full segment airs online, thousands of comments have already started coming in. People taking sides, sharing opinions, debating what was said and what wasn't. And that's where the conversation continues, beyond the studio. So now it's your turn. What do you think? Was he being honest or holding back? Share your opinion in the comments and subscribe to Fame After Hours for more real talk show stories.